Jam Session is a podcast where two guys who grew up in Dallas-Fort Worth discuss sports, craft beer, life, and their experiences living in one of America's most vibrant cities. If you love sports, you're going to love this show. If you love craft beer or you're curious about it, you'll love this show. Great conversations with good friends is what Jam Session is all about.
Welcome. It's nice to have you here. I hope you enjoy it. I think you will.
You're listening to the Jam Session Podcast.
I was told that I could listen to the radio at a reasonable volume.
With Cowboys insider...
What's your name?
Jean-Jacques Taylor.
That's my name.
Radio personality and craft beer expert, Matt McLaren.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot. Comes from upbringing.
And now, the Jam Session Podcast. It is indeed Jam Session. Subscribe, rate, and review, and hang out with us for a while. Right here on Jam Session. The moment we've all been waiting for has arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, the radio, TV, and now podcast star, the sexy Jean-Jacques Taylor.
What up, dog?
And I would be the non-sexy one, Matt McLaren. And this is Jam Session, the podcast, version 26, asking simply that you prepare to be dazzled,
if not entertained.
And as always, Jacques, we like to start you off by telling you about a couple of our great sponsors. They help to make the podcast possible, so please support them as they support us, including our brand new sponsor, which is kind of a really cool one and a different one, and that is Blue Dragon Fine Art.
Now check this out, man. Logan Renfro grew up in Fort Worth, lifelong Cowboys fan, and he's created, check this out, an online art gallery. Blue Dragon Fine Art. Now, here's what he wants you to know. There's a piece of art to fit everybody's budget, just like Matt likes to say there's a beer for everybody. You just got to find it. Now, I like art. I don't love it, but I like it. And I think the right piece really livens a room or creates a conversation. And I've perused the site, Matt, and I got to tell you, I saw several intriguing pieces. I even inquired about one. How about that?
Fancy.
Now, Blue Dragon Fine Art is designed to encourage and support collectors or aspiring collectors who are just starting to build their collection. Blue Dragon Fine Art also wants to elevate artists of different styles at any stage in their careers who want a little more visibility. And the gallery fits in well with the Jam Session culture. Why? Because we're a couple of local guys from Dallas who love local, whether it's restaurants, craft beer, or in this case, fine art. Check them out. As the holidays are approaching, find something unique for your home, a gift for a family member or friend that will continue to help support local artists. Visit BlueDragonFineArt.com. Follow them on Facebook or Instagram at Blue Dragon Fine Art.
Also would like to tell you about another one of our great sponsors, and that, of course, is Blue Star Motor Group. And Blue Star, which specializes in superior quality, Carfax certified pre-owned vehicles of all makes and models, including this one that we've told you about. But I'm telling you, this is not going to last long. The 2014 Mercedes E-Class 350 with an MSRP on this thing new is over $65,000. Now, this one that they have at Blue Star Motor Group is Carfax certified, brand new Continental Sport tires, heated and AC cooled seats, blind spot monitoring. It has a warranty on it. Only 57,000 pampered miles. They've got it for $21,789.
That is a car you need to jump on. I'm telling you, I bought a Benzo like that for the lovely Lorraine probably a few years ago. Maybe more like 15 years ago, but the same concept. Get a great car at a great price. Let somebody else take that depreciation, and you just drive home, put a bow on that thing, man.
You can see it at their website, bluestarmotorgroup.com. I'd also encourage you to follow them on Instagram and give Deb a call. She'll get you hooked up and taken care of at 817-881-4066. That's bluestarmotorgroup.com. But let's dive right into this one today. There is, of course, as we record this, no Cowboy game. As a matter of fact, they played Thanksgiving Day, which was a few days ago now for us as we record this on a Sunday evening, and they don't play again. Because of the situation in Baltimore, they will not play again. At least right now, it's supposed to be Monday, December 7th. So it's almost as if they get an extended bye. Maybe some of the sorenesses, maybe some of the injuries that have been hurting the Cowboys, that'll help out a little bit, perhaps. We shall see.
Yeah, whatever.
But, of course, in our last podcast, we broke down the game, the one that we dropped last Friday, because, well, that was right after the Thanksgiving Day game. But now we know this is a 3-8 team. We know it's a lost season. And, you know, we had this conversation the other day. And I know many of you are following us, and we will get a schedule up. I know a couple of you on Twitter have been asking for that. Where are we going to be? When are we going to be on the radio and whatnot? Now, our podcast, we drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We do fill in on the ticket coming up in the month of December a few times for the Hardline, and you're going to start hearing more of us noon to 3 on the ticket on Sundays. And we had this conversation the other day, Jacques, and I brought up this idea that the anomaly for the Cowboys is not seasons like this really in the last 25 years. The anomaly for the Cowboys is when they have good seasons, because they have more mediocrity and more mediocre seasons than they do quality seasons, oddly enough.
Well, that got me to thinking. I've done this project before, but I didn't put it on a spreadsheet. I kind of wrote it down. And now you should be proud of me, Matt. I wrote it down on some notebook paper, on some graph paper, because I'm that guy who likes to write on graph paper.
Yeah, you are. It's weird.
Matt will tell you, every notebook I have has graph paper,
it's true.
Paper in it. But check this out, man. I should have put it on a spreadsheet, but I didn't. But I did take a picture of it, and I saved it to my favorites. So I found it today. But, of course, I didn't put what year it was on it. So I could have figured out the year, but I was like, what the hell? Let me just do it again. And what happens is I spent much of the day messing around with this. This time I did put it on a spreadsheet. But it's ranking all 32 NFL teams in some very simplistic categories. 1-loss record, win percentage, 10-win seasons, consecutive 10-win seasons, division titles, playoff appearances, championship game appearances, and Super Bowls.
Yeah.
I think the thing that stands out to me is, one, the Cowboys are kind of who we think they are when we say, well, hell, everybody else is having these seasons. How come the Cowboys can't have them? And the reality is, man, there's about 6 teams that are just consistently great, and there's about 6 teams that are consistently awful. And the Cowboys are in that group of just about everybody else,
right,
who's just kind of, they have good years and they have bad years. And I say that because you can look at this chart, Matt, and there's not a lot of teams that strung together more than 2 or 3 10-win seasons in a row. Mm-hmm. It's like you have a window and you have to capitalize, and if you don't get it, you just don't get it, because it's only teams, as you would expect, New England, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis when they had Peyton Manning,
Green Bay with Rodgers.
Right.
Yeah.
You see what we're talking about? The best quarterbacks with the best teams, and they're the ones who have consistency and string it together. And the Cowboys are really an anomaly, because when they've had their great years, they don't have anything to show for it.
Yeah, it's been really interesting, and I think when you look at it like the chart that you put together over the last 20 years, and you look at the entirety of the NFL, it's really interesting because Dallas since 2000 is when you did the spreadsheet. Right. So since 2000, Dallas has had 6 10-win seasons, just 6. But you look at it and you go, okay, that doesn't seem like a lot. But then you look at a team like, I was going to take, for instance, Tennessee, who's only had 6. You've got a team like Minnesota who's had 6. Carolina has had 6. And then even teams like Atlanta and the Giants have only had 7. But you start thinking about that, and what do all of those teams, for the most part, I guess, other than Tennessee, have in common is they've at least been to a Super Bowl. And in Tennessee's case, they were in the AFC title game last year. And you see these other teams that have similar paths like Dallas, but when they have their bumps in the road and have the 12, 13 win season, they take advantage to capitalize that and get into the Final Four or get to a Super Bowl.
That's the whole key, man. And we've talked about this several times, but when you see it, that's the key. The key is when they had their opportunities. We all know when they've had their opportunities. It was 07, it was 14, it was 16, when they had outstanding teams, championship caliber teams, and they didn't take advantage of those. Those were the years where just one dub gets you in the championship game, basically.
Right.
I mean, that's why New England's been to the championship game 13 times. They win the division. They win the one game they're favored to win. Boom, they're in the championship game. And so Dallas has just wasted those opportunities, man. There was a 5-year stretch between 07 and 12 when they won 51 games, I think. and they don't have anything to show for that stretch.
Right, and that's really the problem.
They got nothing.
Right, and it's not absurd. New England has skewed the entire thing because New England has been to 9 Super Bowls in the last 20 years. But if you take New England out of the equation, which obviously if you did that might boost some of these other teams. But reality of it is,
Pittsburgh and Baltimore, really.
There's no other team that has been to more than 3 Super Bowls in the last 20 years except for New England.
What happens is, man, these teams, like, I look at it from the championship game perspective. The Jets have been to the championship game twice.
Right.
They had a good little run for just a minute with Rex Ryan, and they went to the championship. They took advantage of their good little run and did what they did. How about the Cardinals, man? We all think of the Cardinals as a trash team. They've been to the championship game twice.
Yeah, and they have fewer 10-win seasons than Dallas does.
Yeah, because when they had their opportunity, their magical year, they took advantage of it. That's what's so confounding about the Cowboys. That's what drives you crazy, is that, they've had those opportunities, and, whether it's the catch that should have been the catch that wasn't a catch, whether it was the Giants' miracle run with their defensive line and Eli deciding, in the postseason, I'm going to be the quarterback I could never be during the regular season. The miraculous throw from Aaron Rodgers to the tight end along the sideline that sets up the game-winning field goal against Green Bay. Mm-hmm. They can't catch a break in the playoffs, and they ain't made enough of their own.
Yeah, I know a great example of talk about taking advantage of your opportunities is a team like San Francisco, who in the last 20 years is well under 500. Okay. Again, Dallas has 168 wins. San Francisco in the same time period has 148 wins. So San Francisco has 20 fewer wins. They had the same amount of 10-win seasons. They've won 4 division titles. Dallas has won 5. Here's San Francisco's thing. When they win that division and they have a decent team, they go to the NFC title game. Along with 4 division titles, they have 4 appearances in the championship game and have been to 2 Super Bowls in the same time period in which Dallas has won 20 more games, but hasn't even gotten into the NFC title game.
Now, check this out. If Dallas had done what it was supposed to do, bro, we'd be saying, man, it's been 25 years since they won the Super Bowl, but they've been to the championship game 3 times, and they've been to 2 Super Bowls. And so it wouldn't feel the way it feels. Because that Super Bowl excitement, when you get there a couple times, that'll carry you a little bit.
Sure.
And I thought the other thing was I looked at the teams that haven't been to the NFC or the AFC championship game. They haven't been to a championship game. I mean, we're really talking about a quarter of the league. Dallas, they're the only team amongst those 8 teams, dog, with a 52% winning percentage. They're the only team above 50% when it comes to winning percentage. Listen to the other 7 teams that haven't been to a championship game. And they are Houston, Cincinnati, Miami, Washington, Detroit, Cleveland, and Buffalo. We all think those teams are trash. Every single solitary one of them we think is trash. Yet your Cowboys are right there amongst them.
Yeah, and Dallas, like the closest team to Dallas would be Miami, and Dallas has 19 more wins than Miami does over the last 2 decades.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. It makes no sense, man. I mean, but we understand it, and that's the frustration, and that's why when people say, well, it's been 25 years, they haven't done anything since Jimmy. At one level, that's true. At another level, it's not true. They've been a solid team at times. They just haven't gotten over the hump. They haven't had the big win. They got no hardware, man, in a league where you're judged by your hardware.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like I was just looking at it because Cincinnati's right next to Dallas, and it's kind of weird how they both have Cincinnati and Dallas have 6 10-win seasons, but Cincinnati had 4 in a row and was unable to capitalize during that time period to get to an AFC title game. Dallas has 5 division titles, Cincinnati 4, but they both have 7 playoff appearances, and neither one of them has been able to get over that hump. Now, similarly to Jason Garrett, Cincinnati held on to Marvin Lewis forever and ever before they decided to make that change, and now they're hoping that Zach Taylor is the answer, but there's no way to know if he will be or not.
No, and I would say Cincinnati had a lot of the same frustration. Like, we've had good seasons, we've had good teams, we've had opportunities, and we haven't gotten it done. Now, in their defense, they have been playing, against Pittsburgh and Baltimore, which traditionally are really strong teams. And they're in the AFC where you had to deal with that beast called New England. Mm-hmm. And that is never an easy proposition. But I think there's some similarities between Dallas and Cincinnati in terms of not being able to get it done.
And holding on to the coach for way too long that wasn't getting it done for you, which, that's what's so crazy, though, is we want to compare, I think in the consciousness of the Cowboy fan, you want to compare Dallas to Green Bay or to Pittsburgh or San Francisco or franchises like that. And reality of it is you're better off, at least in the last 25 years, really comparing them to Cincinnati.
Don't say it. Don't say it, man. Don't say it.
Cincinnati,
Don't say it.
Miami, teams like that. I mean, even Houston's been to the playoffs 6 times, and they haven't even been around that long.
It doesn't get any better if you look at it from another perspective, man. I did a podcast with John Keim last week. He covers Washington
right
for ESPN. He was my college sports editor at Ohio State, so he's my boy for a long time. And he said, how does Dallas view the rivalry? And I said, you want some honesty, dog? Dallas don't care all that much about Washington. They've beaten them 28 out of 34 times until this season, or 28 out of 40 times until this season. Dallas has a much bigger rivalry with Philadelphia because that's where the division crown goes these days. Go compare Dallas to Philadelphia the last 20 years. That thing will depress you. That thing will make you, Dallas 168 wins. Philadelphia 190, bro. Philadelphia, they got 9 division titles. Dallas has got 5. Philadelphia, how about this, man? 13 playoff appearances. Dallas has got 7. How about this, dog? 6 trips to the championship game, 2 to the Super Bowl. Woo!
Yeah, that's the thing is I think that the Washington thing is a generation before mine because I was too young. I mean, I remember Washington when they they destroyed Buffalo in the Super Bowl in the early 90s, but I was younger, and then that was right when the Cowboys last were experiencing success as well, and that's where I think this got really interesting is, the days of the Hogs and the days where Washington was really dominant was more in the early 80s and through that decade, and it kind of ended in 90 or 91, and ever since then, Washington hasn't been anything.
Well, see, I was going to take it a step further and say it like this, that, if you think about it, the rivalry with Philadelphia really began in the 90s as the Cowboys were getting good. I mean, as the Cowboys were transitioning from the awful late 80s into the 90s, and do we have something here? And it was beating the big bully Philadelphia that was just kicking their butt with Buddy Ryan and that Reggie White-led defense. And then there was that little lull in the mid-90s when the Cowboys were really winning. And then it became, Andy Reid showed up in the late 90s, and he just started opening a can of whoop-ass on Dallas like we had never seen for like 5, 6, 7 years. And they were winning and going to the championship game every year. And it just became like, if you want to do something, it turns out that Philadelphia is really the team you got to deal with because Washington ain't done nothing since the 90s. Yeah, I mean, since the 80s, really. They've been irrelevant since the 80s.
Yeah, that's very true. And ever since they won that last Super Bowl right there before Dallas began their run in the early 90s, they've been nothing. I mean, it was the Giants, and then it was Washington, and then Dallas, and then we really haven't heard from Washington since then. And
the Giants have been consistently solid for the most part, and then they have their runs where they're really good for a season or two. But we never even think. It's always either who you got to deal with this year. Is it Philly? Is it the Giants? Is it both? It ain't never Washington, man.
No, never. But, point being, when you look at this study that you put together over the last 20 years, the Cowboys are right there in the mediocrity middle of what the NFL is. And unlike other teams, this is really the whole point. Unlike other teams that take advantage when they have their hot season, when they get 2 or 3 seasons out of a 7-year window, the Cowboys don't take advantage of those seasons and therefore are just middling around, still waiting for an appearance in a title game.
No, absolutely.
So we continue with you here on the Jam Session podcast, and you may notice that this one is a little shorter, and that is by design. With no game for the Cowboys this weekend, we wanted to give you an opportunity to catch up on some of the other podcasts that perhaps you haven't heard yet, but we still wanted to give something for you guys here this week, and also wanted to continue to tell you about our sponsors, Edward Jones Financial Advisor, Lauren Laddig. Don't let the concerns about today's events derail your long-term financial strategy. This is where Lauren can come in and help you with retirement, getting your things together if that is where you are approaching. And of course, with those 401k rollovers, stocks and bonds, all sorts of things like that. Basically, she'll take what you got going on today and position you so that long term you're going to be okay financially. That's what Lauren is all about. And of course, Edward Jones as well. She's a big supporter of Jam Session, and she'll work with you to find your financial planning answers. So give her a call. 972-563-1417. That's 972-563-1417. And of course, we've been telling you for a while about our friends JR and the guys there at Freeway Tire Shop, easy to get to in Dallas, right off 35. They've got you covered. Oil changes, state inspections, alignments, general mechanic work, and of course, tires. I mean, it's called Freeway Tire Shop. So you can check out what they do at freewaytireshop.com. Schedule an appointment, request a quote at freewaytireshop.com. I know that's where Jacques and I take our cars to get serviced. And satisfaction, I would say, yes.
No doubt about that, man. I went there a couple weeks ago, got my oil changed. I liked it because it's right off the highway at Commonwealth and 35, about 10 minutes from downtown. Zipped right through the light, took a right, rolled right in there, man. And check this out, dog. I was in and out literally in about 20 minutes. And it wasn't because I got the JJT treatment. I didn't even tell them I was coming. I just rolled up there, asked for an oil change. Synthetic oil change, man. 5 quarts, baby. $35. That's all I could tell you. And that's a damn good price.
So find out more, again, freewaytireshop.com. And of course, how about those wings at Kroger? We keep telling you guys about them. You keep snatching them up, and the wings at Kroger are all the rage. I mean, people everywhere are talking about these things now. You probably would be too. Jacques throws his in the air fryer. I throw mine on the grill. They have 2 different flavors, mango habanero and buffalo blue cheese, available at most Kroger locations across North Texas. Now, not all of them. So go get a pound or 2 of those. They're not breaded. It's just wings. It's meat and flavor. That's really all you need. They're fantastic, I'm telling you. And they're easy to make. Whether it's air fryer or grill, super easy. Doesn't get much easier than wings on the grill, man. And god dang, they're good. So go try those. And you can find them, like I said, at Kroger. You just walk back to the back at the meat section and tell the dude that's back there, put together some wings, and he'll do it for you. As we continue with you here on the Jam Session podcast, wanted to let everybody listening know they are here, they are ready, and just in time for Christmas. The Jam Session t-shirts, they're available now. We have black, we have red with the Jam Session logo. They're pretty badass looking. We have medium, we have large, we have extra large.
And we're going to order the 2X and the 3X. I forgot, everybody's not on the soda plan. There's some big bone folks out there. And so we're going to take care of you guys as soon as possible.
So if you are interested in purchasing a Jam Session t-shirt, that would be awesome. We would love the support, and we would love to see you guys wearing those around. Send me an email, matt@jamsessionpodcast.com, matt@jamsessionpodcast.com, and send me, if you would, put your address where you want it shipped and your name and all that, and then I will send you an invoice on how to pay, and we will get those shipped out to you as soon as we get payment from you so that you can have them in time for Christmas. I've already got a couple of people who have ordered them, hoping to surprise some folks and their families, which is pretty awesome. Again, it's black and red, and you can see pictures of them. We put pictures of them up on Twitter. We've put pictures of them up on our Instagram, so go find it on Instagram, Jam Session Cast, and you can see what they look like. But it's $20 plus shipping. And just email me your order, medium, large, extra large. Now, the 2XL and the triple XL, if you want those, it'll take a little bit longer because we got to order those for you people. But we're going to make that happen. So just shoot me an email, matt@jamsessionpodcast.com, and we will get some shirts out to you. And you should get them mostly, I would imagine, well before Christmas so that you can have some gifts.
Absolutely.
This is great. I can't wait to wear mine and rock it around. I already know that I'm going to wear them because this is what I do when I get shirts that I really like. And you know this. I don't know how many people know this. I will wear the same shirt 4 times in a week.
And let me tell you, these are good T-shirts. And here's what I mean by good. They're soft cotton. And I went and I specifically ordered them from a guy who knew what I was talking about, because Matt's weird about T-shirts. If they're not soft, he won't wear them.
It's true.
And I'm serious. And so I was like, dude, they have to be the super soft T-shirts.
Right.
Even if they cost a little bit more, but that's what they got to be. Otherwise, Matt ain't going to wear them, and then it ain't going to be no good.
Yeah, because then I would act like I like them, and I'd tell you guys about them, and they'd be like, how come we never see a picture of you in one?
Well, here's the truth. And I haven't given Matt his yet because they come in, and he's kind of been out of town around
Right.
about. Like, I don't even know where he is now. He could be in Dallas. He could be in Arkansas. He could be in Mississippi. I don't know where he is. But here's the truth. I've worn my shirt 4 times this week.
Dude, I'm when I get mine, I'm going to wear it all the time. So, yeah, get your orders in now. Tell me what size, how many, and where to ship it to, and then I will send you an email so that you'll know how to pay for it, and you can send us payment for Jam Session T-shirts. Send me an email, matt@jamsessionpodcast.com. But I wanted to continue here with you, Jacques, because this was something, I don't know why this happened. I have no idea where it came from, but I, much like you are, am a huge college football fan. I love college football. Now, my program of choice, oddly enough, is Texas, despite the fact that my dad played football at Oklahoma in the 70s and was on their 74 title team, played under Barry Switzer. I mean, he was a scholarship football player. Somehow I became a Texas fan.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that all out. But, hey.
I graduated college from Texas State University. When I went there, it was called Southwest Texas State University in San Marcos. But I was always a Texas fan. And for a long time, my family thought I was going to go to Texas, and I decided not to go. I don't really know why. I think at the time I had gone to Texas, and it just was so big that I felt like I would get lost. And at the time when I was going and trying to decide, I was going to go for theater, and I wanted to be in a program where I felt like I would have more of an opportunity. And so that's why I chose to go the route that I went. But I still had this love for the Texas sports world and all that type of thing. Well, the other day on Twitter, and then also Alabama, because one, I lived in Birmingham for 4 years and went to Alabama games all the time. But obviously, most importantly, my lady friend that I've been with for several years now, she is an Alabama alum, and we watch all the Bama games because she's a Bama girl.
Okay.
So I'm not on the bandwagon. I had somebody go, get off the Bama bandwagon. I was like, dude, as far as I'm concerned right now, looking at this thing, I'm probably in it for life.
Oh, wow. You breaking news?
No, I'm just saying at some point, I mean.
Okay. I mean, it's okay if you are.
Who knows what's going to happen? But I'm just saying.
You getting married?
I mean,
yeah, congratulations.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. I mean, you've been to my house. We have Bama stuff in the house because that's where she went. And she grew up a Bama fan. I mean, she's got all kinds of Bama stuff. So those are the main 2 teams I look at are Texas and Bama, and watch all the games and root for them and have shirts and hats and whatnot for both those schools. So I thought this was interesting. I don't know what prompted this. I put it up on Twitter over the weekend, which you can find us on Twitter at McMattRadio, at JJT_journalist. And all I put was my top 4 most hated college football programs. I put the list, and then I just asked, what are yours? And I don't know that I've had a tweet get that kind of reaction, maybe ever. I mean, right now I have like 75 responses, and this is 75 different people telling me what 4 programs they hate the most, and all these people arguing with me and back and forth. But that's the passion that college football prompts. And I just thought this was great, because I think it originally started out, I had just said, if you are a college football fan and you have never been to the Iron Bowl, you've got to go at some point because it's epic. And for those that don't know, I used to do radio in Birmingham, Alabama. And Birmingham, Alabama, they don't have any pro sports teams in Alabama. It is college football 100%. They love the programs there. Well, everybody knows about Bama, which is in Tuscaloosa, about 45 minutes from Birmingham. Auburn is further southeast in Alabama, but there's another program there, UAB, which is University of Alabama at Birmingham. UAB hates Alabama. Their fans hate Alabama. Their students hate Bama for the most part. It's a long story that actually has a really interesting history that we don't need to get to on this. But I had tweeted something out, and then this dude goes, I would never go to that matchup, and I love college football. So I looked at his profile, and he's a UAB fan. And I said, oh, okay, so you're a UAB fan, not a college football fan. And then these people from UAB jump all over me, saying something like, yeah, they were like, no, that's not true. Like, oh, have you ever been to the Bayou Classic? Have you been to the Magic City Classic? Have you been to all these different games? And I was like, okay, all right. They're like, we would never go out. And I thought this is really interesting to me because like there are certain teams, and this is what prompted my tweet about the teams I hate. There are teams that I hate that I would go watch a game at their stadium because I appreciate college football, and watching a game there is really damn good.
Right.
And and maybe you're different. Maybe like for you, I know you hate Michigan because of Ohio State. Going to see Ohio State and Michigan at the big house, is that not a cool experience?
Nah, especially the way we kick their butt. So, yeah. Matter of fact, I haven't been to an Ohio State-Michigan game since I graduated.
Yeah, I figured.
One, those tickets are hard to get, and two, covering the Cowboys, you could almost never plan to make that thing happen. But the last time I went, it was Earl Bruce's last game, which means it was in the big house, and I was standing on the sideline as the game ended and checked it out, and it was an unforgettable experience.
And that had to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's all about, for me as a sports fan, in addition to a guy who's been a journalist and has been able to do a lot of things. It's all about the bucket list places and games, and so yeah, I'd love to go watch Notre Dame play a game in its stadium. I'd love to.
Yes.
Florida State. I'd love to go watch them through the flaming spear in the middle of the field and get all hyped. I wouldn't mind watching Clemson run down and pat the rock, and all that stuff is why college football is my favorite sport. It's the pageantry, and it's the love, and it's the real passion for the game, because you're playing for more than just a paycheck. You're playing for the name on a jersey. And the fans are so much more invested because they gave money through the university for the most part, whether it's through tuition or whether it's through grants or donors. Right. And then, then you got your student body. Yeah, I go to class with this dude. I see this dude in the dorm. I see this dude around campus. We all hang out. So you're so much more emotionally invested to me in your college program than any NFL team that, it's easy to see why people love college football.
Yeah, and so I thought that was interesting that some folks hate a program so much that they would never watch a classic game like the Iron Bowl, for instance, because, I despise both those programs. Why would I ever watch that? I don't know, because it's college football history. And instead, like one guy goes, well, I'm watching North Texas and whoever they were playing this weekend. Oh, I remember it was North Texas and UTSA, and it was a lopsided game. I was like, oh, because that game's high quality. Anyway, that's what prompted me to put up there, and I got to thinking about it, and I can tell you, hands down, not even close. I hate this program more than any other. There's only one other organization in sports, collegiate, high school, or professional, that comes close, and that would be Philadelphia Eagles. But the team that I hate the most is Texas A&M.
Y'all don't even play them anymore.
I know, but I can't stand the Aggies. And look, if you're
OU.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I have no hate for OU. My dad played there. I have a lot of respect for OU because OU is actually nationally relevant, and OU is where you want to be. You'd love to be like OU. The Aggies are the type of program that hasn't done anything since 1939, and they run around like they've accomplished something.
That they do. And I got a lot of friends who are Aggies, so you don't have to at me.
Well, trust me, when I was growing up in Rockwall, you went one of three places. You either somehow got into Texas, you went to A&M, or if you couldn't get into either one, you went to Tech.
Yeah, I see it.
That's just how it was. And then some of us filtered out at other places. But, I thought it was interesting, like A&M to me. But here's the thing. Like, I think the traditions are hokey. I think it's a cult. I think it's bizarre the way that they break everything down and how you can cheer and all that. They harass the hell out of you if you go to a game and you don't stand up the whole time. But if you've never been to Kyle Field to see a football game, and it's unfortunate they don't play Texas anymore, but I would pick, go see Alabama or one of the big SEC schools like LSU. Go when they're good. Go to Kyle Field and watch a football game, because the experience of being in Kyle Field and being around all that is one of the elite college football experiences.
I got to tell you, bro, I've only been to Kyle Field once, I think, and it was for a Texas game. If I thought long enough, I could describe it and we could figure out which one it was, but that's neither here nor there.
Right.
All I remember is there an earthquake or is this press box moving?
Yes.
And I was like, I gotta find an answer because I need some. What do you call that stuff, Dermadol or whatever?
Yeah, for motion sickness.
Yeah. Because I'm getting nauseous up in here, bro.
But that's how it is. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I think College Station's a great college town. I've been to College Station many, many times. It's very comparable to Tuscaloosa to me. And it's one of those things that I think is, look, the problem with College Station is it's full of Aggies. Otherwise, it'd be like a really cool place. Like Austin's not a great college town by any means because Austin's a state capital and has all these other things going on where a lot of the times the football and what's happening is a secondary thought. It's not like that in College Station, which is why they fit so well in the SEC. I mean, Tuscaloosa, hell, Auburn's the same way. You go down on the plains to Jordan-Hare, I mean, it's like the population of those cities triples on game day. And I love that. I think that's a really cool thing, even though I hate the program. Now, number 2 for me on my list, and this is what people are like, who hates that school?
Yeah, what the what?
And that's UTSA, the Roadrunners of UTSA.
You're right. Who hates them?
Anybody
relevant enough to be hated?
No, trust me. Anybody who went to Southwest Texas State or Texas State or currently goes to Texas State, the hatred between UTSA and Texas State is very real. They are a school who thinks that they are more than what they are. And the funny thing is, it's like, look, at least Texas State is its own thing. You guys needed the University of Texas label to even be relevant. And I'll tell you, and this is true, it's the I-35 rivalry because both schools are right off I-35. They're not that far apart. Like maybe, I'm guessing to get down to UTSA from San Marcos is somewhere between 50 and 60 minutes. And basketball obviously has been a lot longer because the UTSA football program hasn't existed very long. Now, unfortunately, UTSA has won I think it's 4 times they've played Texas State and they've won all 4. But it's a battle, and it used to be, I don't know if they still do this, it used to be like in a concrete bucket, this I-35 sign, and whoever won the sports war between the two schools got it that year. Yeah, man. It's a big, I'm telling you, I am telling you, go to the UTSA campus and start talking stuff about Texas State, and you'll get in a fight. And vice versa. Like if you're a UTSA, like don't wear UTSA gear around Texas State.
I think that if I sit here and think about it, that probably makes sense to me because I forget, San Marcos is only 40 miles from San Antonio?
Yeah, they're not far apart at all.
Right. So if I think about it like that and they're on the same level athletically, I could see that.
Yeah, and it's really weird. Like, for instance, like some dude that doesn't even follow me on Twitter saw this and he tweeted at me earlier and he's a UTSA fan. And he says, Texas State fans are upset that UTSA beats them every year. And on top of it, UTSA is more respected academically with higher rankings, more research and everything. And I was like, that's not true. I was like, ask any media person where they'd rather go, Texas State or UTSA. Nobody on the planet's picking UTSA for TV or radio. I can tell you that. You know why? Because talent goes to Texas State.
Wow.
Welcome to it, man. I'm telling you, dude, it used to be because when I was in college, I did play-by-play for the women's basketball team. And so I traveled with them and stuff.
Right.
And we used to go down to UTSA, and I don't know if they still play there. Hopefully not, because it was a dump. It was called the Convocation Center. And man, you'd go in there and it is a very real, very bitter rivalry. I wish that they would play in football every single year because it's a big one. I'm telling you, I know it's weird.
I had no idea this kind of hate was going on.
Oh, I'm telling you, I mean, they are up there for me. I am not a fan of UTSA. Now, number 3 for me behind A&M and UTSA, and hopefully now people can understand. And somebody was like, well, that's, I don't really look at it like that. I mean, Texas State and UTSA are so irrelevant. I was like, okay, maybe. But if you go there and you're invested there, I mean, you're talking about, people don't realize Texas State usually has the 4th or 5th most enrolled students of any college in Texas. Right behind.
I didn't realize it.
Yeah, it's behind A&M, Texas, and Tech. It's usually either 4th or 5th. I mean, a lot of kids go to Texas State. It's a big time, they're in D1 now, and I know they're not any good. We went 2-9 this year. We suck, and that's whatever. But it's a big time university, man. And UTSA, I think, is 8th or 9th in the state in enrollment.
Go figure. Who
Yeah.
knew?
So there you have it. My top 2. Number 3 is LSU. And there's a myriad of reasons for this one.
Why do you hate LSU?
Well, because it's a big Bama rival for one. And I never really had much thought about LSU till I lived in Birmingham and realized how big of a douche most LSU fans seem to be. Although I will say, I got a chance to spend some time with Marcus Spears once. I did a radio show with him a couple of times a while back. And Marcus Spears is probably the best person from LSU or LSU fan that I've ever met. Because he's not a giant asshole.
Whoa!
Oh, and I will say, I got to also throw this one out there in case he's listening. Michael Dagenhart.
I was just about to ask about Michael Dagenhart.
But see, Dagenhart, his number one school is Texas, and his wife is an LSU girl, so his number 2 school is LSU. And I got to say, Dagenhart is not an asshole.
Okay.
Find me other LSU fans who aren't.
Wow.
I'm just saying. I've been around a ton of them. The worst thing that could possibly happen was they won the national title last year. I mean, there are horror stories about things that happen between Bama and LSU and the crowds when they get together each year, whether it's in Baton Rouge or whether it's in Tuscaloosa. I mean, that is a special genre of a fan base.
Dude, my issue is I was sitting here thinking about it, man. I don't think I hate any program.
You hate Michigan.
I was going to say, outside of Michigan. I don't think I hate any other program.
You don't hate Penn State? Is it because they're like your main rivals are so irrelevant?
I hate Michigan because Michigan ruined the 90s for me.
All right. Yeah, they were good.
We had great teams. They didn't have great. They had really good teams. We had some great teams, and they figured out a way to beat us like 9 out of 11. And so that's when I really grew to hate Michigan. Penn State, I don't know. It's different. I probably have a healthy respect for Penn State. I like, I don't hate Penn State. I don't even think about Penn State in that way. Yeah. I don't know why that is, but I don't hate any. Like, I respect Alabama, and I don't like the Aggies. I don't hate the Aggies, but I really don't like the Aggies because they're a whiny group.
You see, told you.
I typically don't like Notre Dame for the same reason. They're
I can see that. I could see that.
A whiny, pious group, like we always get the short end of the straw. Like, what are you talking about?
What about Michigan State, who had some decent years? Or are they just so irrelevant in the grand scheme of it?
Michigan State is Texas Tech and Oklahoma State.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
They're to be respected. You never really look forward to playing for them because they're kind of scrappy. Michigan State built their program on this. They really are like Oklahoma. They're 3-star players that you keep for a year, and then 3-star players that you recruit and develop and redshirt and all that. Like, I don't hate Wisconsin. I respect those programs. I just hate Michigan, really.
Okay, well, maybe my number 4 school in my hate list, maybe you could find a way to hate them because they're in your conference. Now, they're not in your division.
You hate somebody in the Big Ten?
I hate Purdue.
Okay, why would you hate an irrelevant program like Purdue?
I hate Purdue.
Did they not accept you to college or something?
I want every year for Purdue to lose all their games. And this goes way back.
Woman?
It is.
Just a woman?
It is.
I'm just guessing. I couldn't figure out another reason. I figured it had to be a woman.
And at this point, I don't know why it even matters anymore, but there's just a little sense of joy every year when they suck. And Purdue is so irrelevant. They don't ever do anything. As a matter of fact, I was trying to think off the top of my head. I don't know that in my lifetime Purdue has won 10 or more games, which is just wonderful. But yes, a long time ago, many, many moons ago, I was in a relationship with somebody, and this is in my early 20s. And we went through some stuff. We broke up, and I thought we were going to get back together. She ended up dating this dude who went to Purdue. And we got into it, like, so much so one point that we almost fought once in person because I saw her at a bar in Fort Worth. He was in town visiting her, and I didn't know who it was. And he was starting to talk trash to me. And then one time I had called her on the phone, and he answered it and called me all this stuff to the point where I went off.
Really?
And oh, dude. And it was extremely nasty. And
the stuff that he called you?
Well, trust me. You know me. I answered him.
But he was like calling you names, whatever.
Yeah, he was like all these different things that I might even be uncomfortable saying on this podcast, but just all kinds of different words and whatnot, because I was trying to get her back. Like, I didn't give a rat's ass that she was with this guy. I thought he was just some flash in the pan dick asshole, and he is.
Can I just tell you something, man? What a big loser. Like, I wouldn't call you like a 7-letter cuss word or a 12-letter cuss word or anything. I'd be like, hey, man, I'll have her call you as soon as I get through. And I tell you all the nasty things I was going to do to her.
See, and that's the thing is that now being older, I realized that he was afraid that, and you know what? He should have been, because at some point she did start coming back around.
Right. I'd have played that card like, hey, man, you know.
But I'll never forget. I mean, it was a phone call and that one time in person where they had to separate us at a bar, and it was basically, you know, he was there with some people she knew, and they were like, dude, like, stop, Matt. It's okay. It's okay. And it's like, and we were all going to, I mean, I think I was like 22, 23 or whatever it was.
Oh, full of testosterone.
Oh, right. And so is he. And it's, you know, you're at a bar, you're drinking, and like, all right, you want to step outside? I don't go step outside. I'll go right now. All that type of stupid early 20s dumb crap. But yes, and that's the reason why, and I'm not going to lie to you, every time they get their ass kicked or have another wasted season, I'm just like, you know, dude, I wonder if he's sitting somewhere going, man, it really sucks that I suck and my program sucks.
Wow.
I'm telling you.
But, you know, behind every story like that, there's a woman involved.
There is. I know, because why Purdue? You know, like, it's such a random ass school that nobody cares about.
That's why at the end of the day, I was like, this has got to be about a woman.
See, and that's why I could never meet Drew Brees, because I don't want to hate him. He went to Purdue. I don't want to be like, Drew, I hate you. You went to Purdue, and you seem like a nice guy. You've done a lot for New Orleans. Plus, have you ever been up there? Have you been to West Lafayette? It's a dump.
Dude, I have been to West Lafayette because the year I covered the football team, that's one of the road trips we made to West Lafayette.
So there you have it. And, you know, some other schools always pop up. Like, I used to hate Florida State, but that went away because they've been so irrelevant, and it was just kind of like, whatever.
Let me see. I almost hated the U for a while, but
I can see
more
that.
about a respect.
I've hated USC at times.
No, I never hated USC.
You know, my dad, because when he played at Oklahoma, Nebraska and OU had a nasty rivalry, and my dad hates Nebraska.
Nah, see, yeah. I mean, that's like Ohio State, Michigan back in the day.
Yeah, and that's one of those interesting stories about some of the things, like him playing in Nebraska and the way they treat OU players and stuff. And I always thought that was interesting. And, even my dad, he was like, I never hated Texas. We always respected Texas. He goes, the school we all hated was Nebraska. Like, we hated Nebraska.
See, that's what I'm getting at. Most of these programs I'm talking about, I have you may not like them because they're so successful and they beat you or something, but you respect their program. And that's why it's hard to hate somebody that you respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like I could hate Tennessee just because they're so irrelevant these days, and they always act like they're the real UT, and literally no one ever, when you say UT, thinks of Tennessee anywhere in the country except in the state of Tennessee.
Well, considering I was born at Fort Sanders Hospital on the campus of the University of Tennessee, they will always hold a soft spot in my heart.
Which is fine, and to be fair, I think their checkerboard end zones are kind of cool.
Me and Jason Witten, your favorite player of all time, used to have many conversations about good old Rocky Top. Man.
Damn, that's right. He did go there. All right, so I can't hate them. I figured I couldn't.
See how I brought you around?
Yeah, that was easy. It's real easy on some of these teams that I'm lukewarm on. You could easily get me to go one way or the other. But my 4, A&M number 1, UTSA number 2, LSU number 3, Purdue number 4. It's such a random list, I know.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. So there you have it. As we continue here with you on the Jam Session podcast, wanted to tell you again about some of our great sponsors. And guys, we really appreciate it. I know many of you are helping them out and checking them out. And that's so awesome, because as long as we can get some sponsors, we can keep this going and hanging out with all you. So please support these guys. Beer Geek Shop in downtown Rockwall. We tell you about them all the time. They're a huge sponsor, big fans of ours, and we're big fans of them. Jason and Deidre, the husband and wife that own it, continue to just provide a plethora of craft beer to the world. 400 different craft beers from around the world. Of course, you can get that Jam Session 6-pack there. 6 beers that Jacques and I selected ourselves for $22.50. It's really cool. Out there in Rockwall, where I grew up. Maybe you'll see my mom and dad wandering around. You can be like, hey, it's the McLarens. Maybe you can go see my statue. but it's out there in downtown Rockwall right off the square. You can also see their inventory and place an order online and just swing by and pick it up at beergeekshop.com. And of course, also want to tell you about HFX Foundation Solutions, a full-service foundation repair company. They service all of DFW, specializing in slab and pier and beam foundation repair, as well as drainage and gutter installation. They work with a wide variety. They work, obviously, with homeowners, but if you're a structural engineer, perhaps a realtor, they can work with you as well to create a repair plan for your property. It'll be affordable, reliable, and it's warranted. HFX Foundation Solutions, A-rated with the Better Business Bureau, so check them out. I'd visit them online if I were you, hfxfoundation.com. You can call them if you want, 817-770-0174, or again online at hfxfoundation.com. But as we move forward, let's go around the NFL, shall we?
Yes, we shall.
Because one of the wildest things to happen in the NFL happened today with the Denver Broncos. All four of the quarterbacks that they originally had like 4 days ago were ineligible to play because of COVID. They found this out yesterday, and so they had to do the best they could to basically piece together an offense. They ended up going with Kendall Hinton, who was on their practice squad. A month ago, this dude is in sales. And then they brought him on the practice squad, not to be a quarterback, to be a wide receiver. Now, he had been a quarterback in Wake Forest, and then his senior year, he switched to wide receiver. So Hinton comes in and makes his first career NFL start today. And I'm sure this is not going to come as a shock to anybody because, yeah, they lost the Broncos.
Yeah, ain't nobody surprised by that.
31-3. But how about this?
They scored 3.
Hinton, the Broncos threw 9 passes. Hinton completed 1. He was 1 of 9 for 13 yards and 2 interceptions as the Saints absolutely just destroyed Denver today.
That's what you're supposed to do, man. That's what you're supposed to do to a team with no quarterback. It's the most, it may be the most difficult position in sports, man. And so when you don't have that guy, come on, bro.
Yeah, and it sucked too because I thought I picked up Hinton and started in the day as a bit almost in my league. I was like, whatever. And I thought, because he wasn't classified as a quarterback, he was classified as a wide receiver. And I thought, well, maybe he'll get lucky and do something. No, he put up minus 2.85 points for me.
Dog, we talked about it earlier today, just kicking it around. Like, dude, think about it, man. Ben DiNucci, who been through training camp the whole thing, from start the Cowboys from time they drafted him, and he was ineffective as a quarterback, let alone a cat coming off the streets, dude. That thing was never, ever going to work.
Now, there is some good news as we move elsewhere. If you are a Cowboy team tank, you got some good news today, and I don't know where this came from. I don't know how it happened. The Atlanta Falcons at home absolutely destroyed the Las Vegas Raiders. 43-6.
Oh, it was that bad? Wow.
And so now the Falcons have 4 wins, and there's no longer any tie or any strength of schedule or anything right now anyway between Atlanta and Dallas. Dallas is clearly worse than Atlanta.
Dude.
43-6, man. Atlanta's horrible. And the Raiders don't suck. The Raiders were 6-4.
Nah, man, it's the NFL, man. Sometimes it happens. You show up and, bro, you get what you get, man.
It got so bad at the end of the game, they pulled Derek Carr. And this is,
Dude.
Okay, I'm not lying to you. This is really what happened.
His brother started crying.
They put in Nathan Peterman. Think about that. Peterman because you're a Bills fan. Like, good Lord, how bad is that, dude? How bad is Derek Carr's day going when you had to put in Peterman? And why is he your backup? What the hell? I thought Mariota was.
Shame for him being your backup. But, man, that's awful. But that's good. The Cowboys, I think, got several doses of good news for you team tank people today.
Yeah, they got another good bit because the Giants won today. So they're now 4-7 and no longer tied with Dallas. Now, that's one of those weird ones because they did beat the Bengals. So the Bengals are still ahead of you. But at least you don't have to worry about the Giants right now because the Giants, at least currently, They lead the NFC East at 4-7.
Unbelievable, man.
Isn't that nuts?
Unbelievable.
That's the craziest thing.
They also got good news because San Francisco beat the Rams.
That's right. There's several things about good news that happened. Now, look, it was close. The Jaguars fought hard. They really tried. I mean, they actually tried. But they still lost to Cleveland 27-25, so they're still 1-10. Cleveland, by the way, and we've talked about them because the 3 games they've lost are against 3 decent teams, but they're 8-3, man. I mean, I know they have 8 wins against crappy teams, but they're still 8-3.
Yeah, I mean, you got to say that again, man. They, to me, are the classic team that, they're winning the games that they're supposed to win this year, and nobody's holding that against them. And they've got 8 wins already, and their 8 wins are over Cincinnati, Washington, Dallas. The Colts was a good win. Cincinnati, Houston, Philadelphia. They got Jacksonville.
Right.
They got a couple games coming up with the Titans and the Ravens, and then they end the season with the Jets, the Giants, and the Steelers. So they got a couple tough games coming up, but I will give them credit for beating the bad teams that they're supposed to beat.
Which is fair at 8-3. I mean, they are very much in the playoff mix in the AFC.
New England been winning 12 games a year, beating the bad teams in their division they're supposed to beat.
That's how you do it, and then hope you get lucky and win a playoff game or 2, and next thing you know, you're a Super Bowl champion.
There you go.
Tennessee is 8-3. You mentioned the Colts. They beat the Colts today in Indianapolis. Derrick Henry, 27 carries, 178 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Dude, he had 2 runs today that had me going, damn. One of them amazed me, man. Because don't forget, Derrick Henry is what, 6'4", 250 or 260 or something?
He looks like a starting middle linebacker. He is massive.
Yeah. Dude, he ran some play, and he got, because it amazed me. And he got to the second level, and 2 guys were closing in on him, and he split them, and he was moving. I'm like, you can't be that big and move that fast. Now, he got tackled after about 30 yards or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, I couldn't believe that he accelerated through those guys and split them. And then the last one was the touchdown run. It was probably about 15 yards or something. But he ran around the right end, I think, and he made about 2 quick moves, boop, 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 and juked guys and got into the end zone. I was like, you can't have feet like that and be that big. That dude, whoo, boy. You see why he averaged, 300 yards a game in high school?
Mm-hmm.
No, we're not exaggerating.
No.
He literally averaged 300 yards a game in high school.
Right. And, I always thought it was interesting that the Titans drafted him, and they had DeMarco Murray when he first came into the league, and they almost used him. It was really strange to me because when he was at his best at Alabama, he's one of those guys that the more you give him the ball, the better he becomes. And I thought it was strange that they were trying to split it with DeMarco Murray the first couple of years of his career. And we have seen last year and this year, as he has truly been just the lead featured back, exactly what he can do when you are feeding. He has no problem carrying the ball. I mean, we saw today 27 times. That's the type of running back that guy can be. You want to give him the ball 20 plus times a game. Tennessee figured that out last year. They figured out you do enough with Tannehill. You just feed Beast Henry, let him do his thing. And once again, that's a team that you're going to have to deal with in the playoffs in the AFC.
Okay, I couldn't help myself. Derrick Henry's senior year in high school, 462 carries. This is just 1 year now. 4,261 yards, 55 touchdowns. I mean, come on, man.
I mean, he was an absolute animal. I mean, his senior year at Alabama, junior year because he left after his junior year, 395 carries for 2,219 yards.
How about this game against Taylor County his senior year? A 41-26 win. So not like they running up the score.
Right.
57 carries. 485 yards and 6 touchdowns. Come on, man. Stop it.
Yeah, I mean,
hey, Matt, change the rate. Change the settings, dog. Come on, man. I can't take you seriously. Change the settings, dog.
It's one of those things, man. I mean, you look at it. I just found that fascinating with Tennessee because, when he was a sophomore at Bama, because that was TJ Yeldon's year where he split with Yeldon, and everybody's like, my God, next year when Yeldon's gone, this dude, who knows what he's going to do? Well, he goes out and wins the Heisman and rushes for 2,200 yards, and you can't stop him. Then he gets to Tennessee, and they go back and do when he first got to Bama, and he had to split carries for the first couple of years. And then it's like a light went off, and they're like, wait a second. Why don't we just give this dude the ball? And so all of a sudden, his first 3 years at Tennessee, he averaged seven carries a game, then 11, then 13. The last 2 years, 20 carries a game, 23 carries a game, led the NFL in rushing over 1,500 yards last year, and he leads the NFL in rushing by over 100 yards right now. And he's about to hit 1,100 with, well, no, because he had, what do you have? So he's about 12, he's almost at 1,300 now, and he has 5 games to go.
He's a beast right now. And the thing about it is Mike Vrabel, their coach, and their offense is committed to him.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if he's got 10 for 17 in the first half. They're committed. That's what they do. And, tell the football analytic nerds, like, take that.
So elsewhere around the NFL, the other thing that jumped out at me was the Chiefs on the road in Tampa. And this is a game where Brady actually fought back and tried to get Tampa in this game. They lose by 3 because they scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Pat Mahomes, 462 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. But the real story was Tyreek Hill. 13 catches, 269 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had over 200 yards in the first quarter.
Man, sound like a high school player, dog.
Dude, and so now, Kansas City again is sitting there. They're 10-1, and who knows when Pittsburgh's going to be able to figure out what's going on. They were supposed to obviously have that game against Baltimore that got pushed back. But once again, it really looks like you're going to have a game for perhaps the conference championship between Pittsburgh and Kansas City. You never know. Maybe Tennessee is in this thing. Buffalo was right there. This is what's nuts in the AFC. Pittsburgh and Kansas City, 10 wins. Tennessee, Buffalo, Cleveland are all 8-3, 2 games behind Kansas City and Pittsburgh. Cleveland.
Now, Cleveland does pose some problems for you, man. But, I don't believe in them yet. I'm not saying you want to play them, but I don't believe in them yet.
Yeah, see, and I don't either. And that's one of those teams that until you show me you know how to win and can get it done in the playoffs,
Yeah.
that's one of those, because they're not going to win their division. But Pittsburgh's going to win that division, which means Cleveland's going to go on the road for round 1. And Cleveland's going, that's one of those teams I think that could go on the road, even against a division winner that doesn't have as many wins as them, and lose by 2 touchdowns.
Pretty much.
Because they don't know how to win, because they haven't been there yet. You got to learn how to win, I think. And I'm just not convinced that they do, or that they know how. So then when you look at it right now, Green Bay is going to easily beat Chicago tonight to get up there. Yeah, to get up there right behind New Orleans in the NFC standings. But as it sits, all in all, like we said, you wanted some good things to happen for the Cowboys today. And for the most part, if you're on Team Tank, it kind of did. You have some separation. The Chargers are right there neck and neck with the Cowboys right now at 3 wins. But the Jets, 0-11, they lost today. The Jags, 1-10, they lost today. 2-8-1, Cincinnati. And then there's the Cowboys right now in that 4th spot for the draft. And they get to play Cincinnati here in a couple of weeks. And that's one of those. Come on.
Burner game.
Come on, Bengals. Come on. Do us a favor. Help us out a little bit to jump you in the draft positioning. So that is a look around some of the things that jumped out from this week in the NFL. And as we continue, before we close it down here on Jam Session, let's tell you about a couple more of our sponsors. And that, of course, is Fitzgerald Law. Attorney Chris W. Fitzgerald, again, he specializes in that virtual law practicing that a lot of lawyers are trying to move to. Well, Chris has a handle on that. We have seen, I don't know if you saw this, as we sit here and record this on Sunday, November 29th, Dallas County shattered the record for most COVID cases in a single day today.
Yeah, bro.
3,303. And so a lot of courts, because of that, are moving to online and telephone type meetings only, like the Zoom type thing. And Chris does that for you. He can handle almost everything exclusively online, whatever your needs may be with your legalese, whether it's probate, contracts, business transactions, consumer bankruptcy. Give Chris a call. He can help you out. 972-842-4220, or check him out online at chrisfitzgeraldlaw.com for whatever legal questions you may have. Chris is there for you. But Jacques, I thought this was interesting because I told you about this television show earlier this week when we were doing the podcast about the Queen's Gambit.
Right.
And you have gone off and watched it and apparently also got hooked on the Queen's Gambit.
Well, it got such rave reviews. I mean, it's like, the most watched show in the history of the world. And it's about a woman who's an orphan, who's in her quest to be a chess grandmaster while she's dealing with all this drama in her personal life that I think is the result of her upbringing and of being an orphan.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And all the things you do to deal with that kind of trauma, or the things that you can turn to deal with that type of trauma, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whatever it is. But I found it to be a very interesting show. And I was telling a friend of mine about it today, and I was like, there's very few shows that don't have gratuitous violence or sex in it that you can keep me captivated for 7 episodes. But it did a good job, man. There was some real deep acting, and I like the way they intertwine. I mean, obviously, it's a story about a woman finding herself and her purpose and all that stuff. But the way they intertwined the chess in there and really got into the chess, like, I got to tell you, like, I'm familiar with chess and I know how the pieces move and all of that. But I really had no idea that there's 1,000 different openings, and you have to be able to when somebody opens like this, okay, you got to be able to defend that opening. Well, even if you coming in with another deal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it showed you a lot of the strategy involved in chess, and I had no idea they were reading that much about the history of the game and how the great,
that's a good point. Yeah,
how the great grandmasters attack it, and you read books about how they played and how they defended these. I mean, it was all pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, I that's a really good point, because we didn't mention that when we talked about this before, about how many books are written on that, where they'll sit here and go, oh, you need to go back, make sure you read, Moltov's game from 56 and all this different stuff.
Yeah,
and,
man.
It's just like you might do with football. Like how many different football coaches might go and not just the opponent that you're going to play, but you might have somebody whose offense, like Sean Payton or Sean McVay, whose offense you think is really cool. So you go back and watch all their offensive stuff because you want to see what you can pick up. These chess people are doing that with the same type of scenario in chess.
Yeah, it was a very interesting show, man. Very interesting. And so I didn't know if it would live up to the hype, but it did. So
well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. So do we at some point do a chess match live on YouTube against each other, perhaps?
You and I?
Yeah. Maybe a little speed chess.
I mean, you've never seen me in my Molotov cocktail move.
That's true. And you've never seen me in my Queen's Gambit move or in my en passant. Plus, will I play Sicilian opening or Sicilian closed?
All I know is you always play your game. You don't get caught up in what they're doing.
Exactly.
But see, all that was all very interesting to me. Yeah, man, we could do that. I'll read up on some. Figure out which move I'm going to make.
No, we'll just play, man. Come on, I don't want to have to read up on stuff.
Hey man, you don't have to read. You can coach your team the way you're going to.
No, you know what I'll do? I'll have my son come over and just off camera tell me what moves to make. The 9-year-old chess camp champion of UTD chess camp.
See, I found all that interesting that you write down your moves after you make them, so you go back and they were like, yeah, don't you? And she was like, don't you replay the game in your head, like, all the moves you could have made? And I was like, no, not really. Once I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah, I thought it was very well done. And for something that sounds just on the surface that a lot of people are like, chess, really? That's kind of boring. It's a very riveting 7-part miniseries, The Queen's Gambit on Netflix, that I never was bored, even in the chess scenes. I was very enthralled and really into it all the way through.
No, I can't say. I mean, it was very interesting, man. I see why so many people are watching it. And the actress, let me see. Did you know her from anything else?
No, I looked her up, and I still am not. I mean, I've seen some other things she's been in, but she didn't jump out to me. I believe her name is Anna Taylor-Joy.
Correct.
Yeah, or Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anya.
Yeah.
And whatever she looks like in the Queen's Gambit is not like what she really.
No.
Like, she's like a redhead in the Queen's Gambit, and she's like this this blonde in her regular life when she's not in character.
Yeah, very well done all the way around. So
yeah, 2 thumbs up right there.
Yeah, check that out. And I'm excited. I'm going to be watching some other stuff on Netflix this week. I'm excited. The Christmas Chronicles, which I think is the best Christmas movie that's come out in the last, probably since Elf, in the last 15 years. The Christmas Chronicles, which is a real nice, updated, realistic take on Santa Claus and how that works and everything with Santa, which I think is fantastic, came out 2 years ago on Netflix with Kurt Russell as Santa. And they just released the sequel this past weekend. So we're going to be watching that with my son here coming up this next weekend. The sequel, Christmas Chronicles 2, which I'm excited. I think the first one, man, some of those holiday movies can be real hit and miss. And I thought they nailed this one.
Well, I've never heard of the Christmas Chronicles.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
But if you give it a great review like you did the Queen's Gambit, I might have to go watch it. I spent ironically enough, I did something management used to do. I spent the weekend watching some documentaries too.
Wow, that's interesting.
I watched one on Arlington police officer Ronnie Coleman, who was Mr. Universe. Or
I've
Mr.
seen
Olympia.
that. Yes, that is a fascinating documentary.
See? That thing will get you, man. And then, have you seen The Last Narc?
No,
About Enrique Camarino?
No.
Okay, here's a quick version of it, man. All right, this is a documentary, and it's about, and I remember it because I was a senior in high school when it happened. And my mom used to watch the news every day, and so I remember the story. He's a DEA agent down in Mexico, kidnapped by the cartel. And so there's this rush to find him before they kill him, right? Mm-hmm. And so they find him too late. He's dead. And dude, so this is a documentary, and they got the people who kidnapped him, and they got the people who were at the meetings when they were planning the kidnapping. So it's fascinating because you're getting it from the horse's mouth.
Right.
And you know why he got killed, man? He got killed because he was so good undercover at his job that he was about to stumble onto this deal where the U.S. was funding the Nicaraguan war that they weren't supposed to be funding. And so the U.S. government had the cartel kidnap him, man, and torture him and kill him. Now, let me tell you the worst part of this show, man. They got transcripts from the interrogation where they're torturing him. And so they put the transcripts on the screen, redacted. And then, dude.
Really?
Then they pull away the redaction. And it goes something like, tell us what you know about this, this building. Well, there were guards over there. And he goes, ouch. Hey, Commandante, I'm going to tell you everything. Blah, blah, blah. And he finishes that. And they ask him something else and he answers it. And then they unveil the redaction and it goes, you're not telling me anything, you son of a bitch. And then there's like a 2-second pause and they do the next redaction. All it says is screaming in parentheses.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. I'm in. I'm going to have to check this out. Is that on Netflix too?
Yeah. The Last Narc.
The Last Narc. Wow.
It's a 4-part series.
Cow. Okay. All right. Very nice. Well, there you have it. That's going to wrap up the podcast here for us tonight as we are recording this on a Sunday, and I hope that you enjoy whenever you are able to check it out over the course of the upcoming week. We will be back with you later this week, so thanks for your support. We appreciate that as always. Thanks for listening. Find us on Instagram at Jam Session Cast. We're also available on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe there today by searching Jam Session Cast. And of course, find us on Twitter at McMattRadio, at JJT_journalist. A big thanks to Purple Elephant Music. You hear that music at the beginning and end of each podcast episode. He's the radio and TV star, the sexy Jean-Jacques Taylor. And I'm just a guy, Matt McLaren. Don't forget, get your t-shirt orders into us. Black, red, Jam Session t-shirts. Send me an email, matt@jamsessionpodcast.com. And tell a friend, man. If you enjoy what we do, spread the word. Let's grow this thing together and tell them to subscribe, rate, and review. And we'll catch you next time on the Jam Session Podcast, available everywhere you listen to podcasts.